The Northern Virginia housing market has definitely shifted from the craziness that we saw in 2021 and earlier this year, which was caused by extremely high demand, low inventory, and historically low interest rates. However, activity has definitely slowed down, but how does that affect you if you're considering getting into this housing market? Well, in this week's video, I'm gonna share with you some of the most common questions that I'm getting on a daily basis about the shifting housing market right here in Northern Virginia, and we're getting started right now. Boom! Hey everybody, it is David, your favorite realtor. As always, you know it, it's another beautiful day right here in Northern Virginia. If it's your first time here on my channel, please do me a favor, hit that subscribe button, because every week I release videos of what's like to live, work, play, pros and cons, top neighborhoods, cost of living, basically everything that you need to know about living right here in Northern Virginia. So let's get it started right now with the most frequently asked questions that I'm getting about the Northern Virginia housing market with, hey David, how's the real estate market right now? Well, our current market has definitely shifted away from a seller's market more towards a buyer's market. And what that means for you is, if you're looking to buy a home, you actually have a lot of the leverage when it comes to negotiating against the sellers, because early in the year, every house was selling the first weekend with 5, 10, 15 offers, selling for $20, $30, $50,000 above asking price. Now, homes are sitting for 20, 30, 40, 50, 60 days on the market. And most likely when you submit an offer, you can be the only offer. So now you're not competing against anybody else, and sellers are way more open to the negotiations compared to what they were early in the year. And if you look into the numbers, back in February and March of this year in Loudoun County, on average, homes are selling for $30,000 above asking price. Now, in the past 30 days, homes are selling for $8,000 under asking price. That is a huge swing, going from $30,000 above asking price now to $8,000 under asking price. And the number one reason for the shift in the market is interest rates have basically doubled from January. I remember back in January, my clients were getting interest rates 3%, 3.25, 3.5%. Now we're seeing rates in the 7s, so it's literally more than double. And that really affects a buyer's affordability, which is gonna drive down demand. So that's really the biggest reason for our shift right now, is the higher interest rates. Another thing with this market that I'm actually seeing currently is the inventory is still actually very, very low right now. In fact, the inventory levels are probably pretty much the same as they were in May and June earlier this year. And I've noticed a lot of sellers, they're choosing not to sell because they don't want to leave their house that has like a 3% rate and buy their next house at a 7% rate. So that makes total sense. I've also personally had a lot of clients who would have been sellers. Now they're deciding to put their home for rent because they have such a low interest rate, they're actually going to cash flow with their property. But the short answer on how the market is, homes are sitting on the market longer, negotiations are back, and a lot of the leverage right now is more towards the buyer. The next common question I get a lot is, hey David, do you think the sellers will take X amount? That's a great question, and I don't know, because I personally don't know the seller. And to be honest with you, most sellers don't even know what they'll really take, and there's so many variables to this question. So let's take two sellers for example. Let's say seller one just got a job in California. They have to sell their house because they have to move to California to start the new job. And seller number two is, he's just testing the market. He does not have to sell. Which seller do you think is going to be more motivated to negotiate? Seller one who has to sell to move, or seller two is just testing the market? Obviously seller one. So seller one is more likely to negotiate and accept that price that you're offering. Also, other variables, how long has this home been on the market? If the home just hit the market today, the chances of them taking, $50,000 off the list price are very low. But if the home's been sitting on the market for 90 days, that increases the probability that they will take your offer. But these are all things I try to find out once I have a client who's interested in a certain property. I call the listing agent, ask questions like, hey John, do you have any offers in hand? Or if they don't, like why is your seller moving? Why are they selling? Because I want to find out the seller's motivation to give us as much leverage as possible when submitting an offer. But there's really only one true way to really find out if a seller will take X amount, and that is to submit a written offer with your proof of funds or your pre-approval letter. Because I've seen a million times, most sellers do not even know what exactly they'll take. But when they see a real offer in writing, all they have to do is sign and their house is sold, a lot of sellers, they'll just take a lot less than they originally thought they would, especially if they're highly motivated. Next question I get a lot is, hey David, where do you see interest rates going? I really don't like answering this question because, to be honest with you, nobody knows. Who would have thought, 2.5 years ago, we would have had a global pandemic and we would have had interest rates as low as 2.5%? No one would have ever seen that. And who would have thought would have interest rates right now at 7%? Nobody predicted that. So I have no idea which direction they're gonna go in. And I can definitely tell you this, they're not gonna start getting lower until the Fed fights inflation, because that's their number one goal right now, is to lower inflation. But if you put a gun to my head and I just had to give you a prediction, I think they're gonna peak at about 8.5%. It'll probably either be December, January, February timeframe. And I think maybe late summer to early fall of next year, I think they're gonna get down to about 5.5%. And that'll kind of be our average probably for the next year or so moving forward. Next question I get a lot is, hey David, how can I get the best interest rate possible? So I don't want to really talk about specific programs because they change daily and every lender has their own programs unique to them. So I'm just going to give you some tried and true methods to get you the best interest rate. First thing is have A+ credit. If your credit score is 600, well, guess what? You're definitely not getting the best interest rate. I would shoot for 740, 750 and above. Second thing is talk to multiple lenders. Even when I bought a home earlier this year, I talked to 3 different lenders and I ended up going with the program and the rate that best fit exactly what I was looking for. And if you need a referral for a great local lender, you know I got your back. But yeah, those are 2 big things right there. Have A+ credit and talk to at least 2, maybe even 3 lenders to shop rates and get the best program for you. Next question is, hey David, are new construction homes open to negotiations? Again, this is definitely very case by case. I work with a lot of new construction clients. I'm very experienced with this. Not to mention I bought a new construction myself. If this was early in the year, 0% chance of negotiating. However, the market slowed down. Also, new construction homes have slowed down. So right now, new construction, they're offering a lot of incentives. I definitely noticed the incentives have really increased compared to early in the year, like paying all your closing costs, offering to pay down points to get a better interest rate, and so on. Now, are they open to negotiations? Like I said, it's case by case, but I'll share with you the best practice if you want to negotiate. So let's say you go to X, Y, and Z builder, get pre-approved with their preferred lender. The reason is that shows that you're a real and qualified buyer. Before that happens, you're not a real buyer. They're not gonna listen to you. And then second, make a realistic offer. If you come in $100,000 under asking price on the $800,000 house, they're gonna tell you to kick sand. However, if you offer maybe $790 on the $800,000 house and you're pre-approved with their preferred lender, there's a good chance they may take that offer. So again, negotiating on new construction will really be case by case basis. Next question is, David, should I buy a distressed sale property? All right, so when I say distressed sale, I'm talking about short sales and foreclosed properties. Now, if you can find one and it fits what you're looking for, then I say go for it. However, as of right now, there's 3,570 active listings in Northern Virginia. Of those 3,570, there's only 15 distressed properties. So that is literally less than 1%. So it's not a big part of our market. And if I look at those 15 distressed sale properties, they're all priced at market value. So it's not like you're gonna find $1 million house that's selling for 700. The banks are listing at $1 million. So keep that in mind. And a lot of these properties, they're in bad shape, need a lot of work. So I personally would not buy one, but if you can find one that's a good deal for you, I say go ahead, but just know it's not a big part of our market. Because like I said, it's less than 1% of our active inventory is a distressed sale. Next question I get a lot is, hey David, should I buy now or should I wait? Again, very complex answer for this question. Now, if you're trying to time the market, I'm 100% against that. Because if you say, hey, David, June 1st of 2024 is going to be the bottom of the market, that's what I'm buying, most likely you're going to be wrong. You're not smarter than everybody else in the room. Now, if you are going to buy now, you have to meet 3 of this criteria. All 3, not 2 to 3 or 3 to 3, all 3. First is you have to have a need and a motivation. That could be like you have a 2-bedroom apartment right now, and you have a family of 4, and you need a bigger house. You're just outgrowing that little apartment. That is a need and motivation. Next, be in a strong financial position. Make sure you have great credit, money in the bank, nice stable income from your job. Third is you have the long-term vision. You can be in this house for at least 5+ years. Obviously, the longer, the better. So if you only have 2 of these 3, so let's say you have a motivation for a new house, and if you bought a house, you're living there for 10 years, but your credit's 600, don't buy now. You're not ready. You have to have all 3 of these things, then you're ready to buy. Now, the biggest question I get, and you know it, I know it, David, will the market crash? Obviously, I don't have a crystal ball, but I personally do not think so. What I think we're in store for is sideways action. Maybe it goes down 5%, maybe it goes up 1%, but it's gonna be in that range. One thing we have right now, we still have very low inventory. Like I said earlier in this video, we have the same inventory levels as we had early in the year. It's just less buyer demand. and I do not see an influx of inventory coming anytime soon. Because every seller I talk to, they don't want to sell because they have such a great interest rate. So where's that inventory going to come from? Now, if our inventory was to 5x with our current buyer demand, then I could see home prices dropping by as much as 10%. But I just do not see an influx of inventory coming. Now I know everybody brings up, oh, foreclosures and short sales are coming. Now I can't speak for other parts of the country. I'm only being specifically talking about here in Northern Virginia. And we are the suburbs of Washington, D.C. This is a very affluent area, high-paying jobs, high education. So I think the chances of, people needing to sell because of foreclosure or short sale are a lot less likely here compared to other parts of the country. Now, I am 100% bullish long-term with the housing market. But like I said earlier, I could definitely see some sideways action happening here the next 2, 3, maybe even 4 years. And if you want to learn more about living right here in Northern Virginia, check out these videos right here. They're going to be a great resource for you. And I'll see you on the next video.